Before we begin, let me remind you of something powerful. Kindness is a gift. Compassion is strength. Helping others is noble. But even the purest heart must learn balance. Even the strongest soul must rest. Because when you constantly pour into others without refilling yourself, eventually you run dry. This is a story about generosity, sacrifice, and the hidden cost of always saying yes. In a quiet town lived a young man named Daniel. He was known for one thing above all else. He never said no. If someone needed money, Daniel gave it. If someone needed time, Daniel sacrificed his own. If someone needed help moving, studying, fixing something, solving something, Daniel was there. People admired him. They praised him. Daniel has the biggest heart. You can always count on Daniel. He's different from everyone else. At first, those words made him proud. Growing up, Daniel believed that being needed meant being valuable. He had learned early that love was earned through usefulness. So he worked hard to be indispensable to everyone around him. If a friend called at midnight with a problem, he answered. If a coworker forgot their assignment, he stayed late to finish it for them. If a relative needed money, he emptied his savings. He told himself, "It's okay, I can manage. I'll rest later." But later never came. Slowly, something began to change. Daniel stopped sleeping properly. His weekends disappeared. His personal goals, starting a business, going back to school, traveling, were constantly postponed. Whenever he tried to focus on himself, someone would ask for help, and he would smile and say, "Of course." At first, he didn't notice the exhaustion. He thought it was normal. He thought being tired meant he was doing something meaningful. But then came the small disappointments. One day, Daniel had an important presentation at work, something he had prepared for weeks. The night before, a friend begged him to help fix a personal crisis. Daniel stayed up until 3 a.m. supporting that friend. The next day, exhausted and unfocused, he stumbled during his presentation. His boss was disappointed. A promotion he had hoped for went to someone else. His friend? They never mentioned it again. Daniel told himself it didn't matter. It's just one opportunity, he said. But deep down, it hurt. Months passed. Daniel helped a cousin start a small business. He invested his savings and spent hours managing paperwork. The business eventually succeeded. When profits came in, the cousin celebrated with others. Daniel wasn't included. When he gently asked about repayment, the cousin laughed. "Oh, come on, you said you were just helping." Daniel smiled, but something inside him cracked. Still, he continued helping. Why? Because he feared something worse than exhaustion. He feared being seen as selfish. One evening, Daniel sat alone in his apartment. His phone was silent for once. No one needed him that night. But instead of feeling peaceful, he felt empty. He realized something painful. When people didn't need him, they didn't call. Not to check in, not to ask how he was, not to support him. He had built relationships where his value was tied to service, and he had unknowingly trained everyone to expect his constant availability. That night, his mother called. She had noticed something in his voice recently. Fatigue, sadness. "Daniel," she said gently, "when was the last time someone helped you?" He paused. He couldn't remember. The next week brought the turning point. Daniel fell ill from stress and exhaustion. Nothing dramatic, just his body demanding rest. He had no choice but to cancel plans and ignore calls. At first, his phone buzzed constantly. "Can you come over? I need you for something urgent. Just this one favor." He didn't respond. Days passed. The calls stopped. And something surprising happened. The world didn't collapse. The people who once insisted they couldn't survive without him managed just fine. They found other solutions. They figured things out. They adapted. Daniel realized something powerful. He hadn't been helping people grow. He had been helping them depend. And in the process, he had made himself invisible. When Daniel recovered, he made a decision. The next time someone asked for help, he didn't immediately say yes. He paused. He asked himself 3 questions. Do I truly have the capacity for this right now? Is this my responsibility? Am I helping or enabling? The first time he said, "I'm sorry, I can't," his heart raced. He expected anger, disappointment, rejection. There was silence. Then the person said, "Oh, okay, I'll figure something out." And they did. Daniel felt something unfamiliar. Relief. Not everyone liked the new Daniel. Some people complained, "You've changed. You're not as supportive as before. You used to care more." Those words hurt. But Daniel had begun to understand something deeper. The people who only value you for what you give will resist when you stop overgiving. But the people who truly care about you will adjust and respect your boundaries. Slowly, his circle became smaller, but it became healthier. With time no longer constantly consumed by others, Daniel began rediscovering his own dreams. He enrolled in an online course he had postponed for years. He started waking up early, not to solve someone else's problems, but to work on his own goals. He exercised, he rested, he thought. He learned that helping others should come from abundance, not from self-neglect. He still helped people. He didn't become cold or selfish, but now he helped intentionally. He gave from strength, not guilt. He gave without sacrificing his foundation. He gave without abandoning himself. And something interesting happened. The people around him began respecting him more. Because boundaries don't push people away, they teach people how to treat you. Daniel realized a truth many of us struggle to accept. You are not responsible for fixing everyone's life. You are not required to sacrifice your future to solve someone else's present. And saying no does not make you unkind. It makes you wise. Helping others is beautiful. But when helping becomes a way to avoid confrontation, avoid rejection, or seek validation, it becomes self-destruction disguised as kindness. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot light the world while burning yourself out. Balance is not selfishness. It is sustainability. Years later, Daniel looked back on his journey with gratitude. He had lost some relationships, but those were built on imbalance. He had gained peace, growth, and genuine connections. People who valued him for who he was, not just what he provided. One evening, a young friend asked him, "How do I become a better person?" Daniel smiled and said, "Be kind, be generous, help when you can, but never lose yourself in the process, because the world doesn't need a martyr. It needs strong, whole people." If you are someone who is always there for everyone, if you feel tired but guilty for resting, if you fear being seen as selfish for setting limits, remember this: you deserve the same care you so freely give. Protect your energy, guard your time, value your dreams, help others, yes, but never at the cost of yourself. Because when you take care of your own well-being, you don't become less helpful, you become powerful. And that kind of strength changes lives, including your own.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the story, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories like this.